Now let's move to the last session on translation theory and practice. We stopped last time on the slide talking about the case study literary translation. Literary translation represents translation as its most creative and challenging, unlike technical texts where accuracy alone suffices. Literature requires capturing aesthetic qualities, styles, voice, rhythm, imagery that gives texts their artistic power. Literary translators are artists in their own right, recreating literary effects in a new linguistic and cultural context. Now let's move to unique challenges of translating poetry and drama form and structure. Poetry often uses formal constraints, meter, rhythm, schemes, stanza, patterns that carry meanings. Translating Shakespeare's iambic pentameter into Spanish requires choosing whether to maintain meter, which contains broad choice, or prioritize semantic accuracy. There is no perfect answers. Each choice involves trade-offs that produce different kinds of translations. Sound and musicality, poetry, sonic qualities, alliteration, accents, consonants, rhythm create effects that may be inseparable from meanings. Emily Dickinson's poem "I Hear the Fly Buzz When I Died" uses buzzing sounds, the repeated Z, to embody the fly's presence. Translators must find equivalent sonic effects in the target language or accept their loss. Imagery and metaphor. Metaphors do not always work across cultures. Metaphor drawing on baseball might be opaque to readers unfamiliar with the sport. Literary translators must decide whether to preserve source culture's imagery potential, leaving readers confused, or adapt it potentially losing culture as specificity. This tension between foreignization and domestication is central to literary translation. Now let's go to ambiguity and the multiple meanings. Literary texts often deliberately use ambiguous language, double meanings, and wordplay. Translating puns is notoriously difficult because they depend on language-specific sound similarities. Sometimes translators create new wordplay in the target language rather than attempting impossible direct translation of source language puns. The translators of poetry must be a poet. The translator of drama must understand the theatrical impact. Literary translation requires not just linguistic competence, but literary sensibility, the ability to recognize what makes a text work aesthetically and recreate those effects in another language. Literary translation teaches us that perfect equivalence is impossible. Every translation involves interpretive choice that creates something new. Rather than seeing this as failure, recognize it as creativity. Each translation is a new literary work that illuminates the original from a fresh perspective while standing as an artwork in its own right. Case study, technical and business translation. While literary translation emphasizes creativity, technical business translation prioritizes precision, consistency, and functionality. These translations must communicate specialized information accurately to enable readers to use products, understand the procedures, or make business decisions. Errors in technical translation can have serious consequences, from unsafe product use to costly business misunderstanding. Precision in terminology, technical fields use precise terminology where near systems may refer to distinct concepts. Motor and engine aren't interchangeable in emerging contexts. Terminology management, creating and consisting applying glossaries of technical terms is essential for accuracy research and industry standards terminology rather than inventing translations. Consistency across documents, technical documentation often span multiple documents that must use identical terminology. If you translate power supply as font d'alimentation in one manual, use the same term in all related documents. Translation memory tool keep maintain this consistency by storing and refusing previously translated segments. Cultural adaptation for business. Business translation requires understanding target market culture. Marketing material may need substantial adaptation, humor, color associations, and persuasive strategies vary across cultures. What's compelling in one culture may be off-putting in another. Localization goes beyond translation to adapt content for translation and the market fit. Translating user manuals, practical considerations, use manuals exemplify technical translation challenges. They must be accurate, clear, complete, appropriately formatted. Now let's go for accurate. Incorrect instructions can cause product damage or user injury. Clear. Users need to understand procedures without ambiguity. Complete. No information should be omitted or added. Appropriately formatted visual layout supports comprehension. Translating manuals requires attention to measurement units, convert or preserve. Safety warnings, legal requirements vary by jurisdiction. Procedural clarity. Some languages prefer different instruction structures. Visual elements, text, and diagrams must be translated. Legal documents translation. Legal translation is among the most demanding specializations requiring both linguistic competence and legal knowledge. Legal systems differ across across countries using conceptual without direct equivalence, translating common law legally terms into civil law. Languages requires understanding both legal translations, 100% accuracy requirements. Legal translations must be completely accurate. Even small errors can have serious legal consequences. Acceptable ambiguity, where sources text is ambiguous, translation should not clarify or interpret, preserve the ambiguity. 24/7 research intensity. Legal translators invest intensive time researching terminology and consulting legal experts. Certification and specialization. Many jurisdictions require legal translators to be certified or accredited. Technical and business translation increasingly requires specialized training and credentials. If you're not interested in these fields, pursue specialized education beyond general translation training. Domain expertise is as important as linguistic skill. Technical and business translation demonstrates how translation serves practical purposes beyond the cultural exchange. These translation enable global commerce and technological transfer and in international cooperation, while less celebrated than literary translation. Technical translation is arguably more economically significant and affects more people's daily lives. Emerging trends in translation. Translation is evolving rapidly, shaped by technological advances, globalization, and changing communication patterns. Understanding emerging trends prepares you for the profession's future and helps you develop skills that will remain valuable as the field transforms. Rather than fearing change, forward-thinking translators embrace new tools and opportunities while maintaining the core competencies that technology cannot replace. AI and machine learning. Neutral machine translation produces increasingly fluent outputs, but human translators remain essential for post-editing, quality assurance, and translating content requiring cultural sensitivity or creativity. The future likely involves human AI collaboration rather than replacement. Localization demands as businesses expand globally, demand grows for localization, adapting content not just linguistically but culturally, considering local regulations, preferences, and market conditions. Localization requires a broader skill than traditional translation, including cultural consulting and project management. Audio-visual translation, streaming services, and the digital content have exploded demands for subtitling, dubbing, and captioning. Audio-visual translation requires specialized skills in timing, concision, and adapting to on-screen constraints while maintaining comprehensibility. The impact of technology. Technology is transforming how translators work, but not eliminating the technology or not eliminating the profession. Consider how it affects different aspects. Research, internet access enables instant terminology lookup, access to parallel texts, and consultation with global challenges or global colleagues. Efficiency CAT tools dramatically speed up translation of repetitive or semi-repetitive content. Collaboration, cloud-based platforms enable distributed terms to work on large projects simultaneously. Quality assurance, automated checking catches consistency errors and terminology violations. However, technology amplifies rather than replaces human judgment. Translators, while skillfully combine human insight with technological tools, will thrive in the evolving landscape. New specialization opportunities, game localization. Video game translation requires understanding game mechanics, player experience, and interactive narratives. The growing field combines the translation with the user experience design and creative writing. Accessibility services, increasing awareness of accessibility creates demand for audio description, subtitling for deaf audiences, and translation of accessibility resources. This socially important specialization ensures content reaches audiences with disabilities. Website and app localization. Digital products require translation that accounts for user interface constraints, cultural usability differences, and the technical integration with codes. This hybrid role bridges translation and web development. The future belongs to translators who combines deep linguistic and cultural knowledge. Future belongs to translators who combine deep linguistic and cultural knowledge with technological fluency, adaptability, and willingness to continuously learn. The core skill, understanding, and repressing meaning across linguistic and cultural boundaries remain constant, but how we apply that skill continues to evolve. The translators who thrive will be those who embrace change while maintaining expertise in what humans do uniquely well: cultural judgment, creative problem solving, and nuanced understanding of meaning and context. Summary and reflection. You now explored translation from multiple angles: theoretical foundations, practical methods, professional considerations, and future directions. This comprehensive overview provides a foundation for continued learning and practice. Translation is a lifelong learning journey. This course makes the beginning rather than the conclusion of your development. So let's review the key concepts we've covered and reflect on how they integrate into coherent understanding. So, key theories and concepts reviewed. Translation as meaning transfer. We have seen how scholars define translation as transferring meaning between languages while navigating cultural and linguistic differences. Translation isn't mechanical conversion, but interpretive recreation of meaning in new linguistic form. Types and methods. Different translation approaches: literal, free, communicative, serve different purposes and context. Strategic translators flexibly apply various methods and techniques, borrowing modulation, equivalence, adaptation, depending on specific challenges each text segment presents. You don't choose one approach and use it for everything. You analyze each situation and apply appropriate strategies. Quality characteristics. Good translators, I mean, good translations exhibit accuracy, clarity, and naturalness, balancing fidelity to source meaning with fluency and target expression. Quality depends on context. To what constitutes a good translation varies by text type, purpose, and audience. Intercultural mediation translation bridges not just the languages but cultures, requiring translators to navigate cultural differences, untranslatable concepts, and the varying assumptions about how communication works. Cultural competence is as essential as linguistic competence. You must understand not just how languages work, but how cultures think, express, and communicate differently. Um, Integrating theory and the practice. Throughout this course, we've emphasized that theory and the practice are inseparable. Theory without practice remains abstract. Practice without theory lacks depth and reflective awareness. The most effective translators integrate both dimensions. They apply theoretical frameworks to analyze translation problems systematically. They use practical experience to test and refine theoretical understanding. They reflect critical on their choices, developing meta-cognitive awareness of their decision making. They say current with theoretical development while maintaining practical skills throughout regular translation work. This integration theory informs or informing practice refining theory is what distinguishes expert translators from competent technicians. Now let's go to the learning cycle. Study theory, learning concepts, methods, and frameworks from translation studies. Scholarship, refine understanding, use practical insights to deepen theoretical comprehension. Let Theory inform better practice, practice translation, apply theoretical knowledge through hands-on translation exercises across text types, reflect critically, analyze your choices and the process, identifying strengths and areas for improving. I mean improvement. So this cycle repeats continuously throughout your development as a translator. You never stop learning. You continuously deepen and refine your understanding and skill. Now let's move to the path forward. Translation expertise develops gradually through sustained engagement over months and years. Be patient with yourself as you develop skills and knowledge. Every translation you compete or you complete, every challenge you navigate, every mistake you learn from strengthens your um competence. The translators you admire have decades of experience behind their expertise. Continue building your practice through regular translation practice, translate frequently across various text types and genres, ongoing education, take advanced courses, attend workshops, pursue a specification in area that interests you, professional networking, connect with other translators through professional organizations and online communities. Reading in both languages, maintain and expand your linguistic competence through continuous and extensive reading, seeking feedback, have experienced translators review your work and provide constructive criticism. Translation is an art that involves a science that involves art. It requires both creative intuition and analytical pressure, both linguistic precision and cultural sensitivity. Embrace this complexity. It makes translation endless, fascinating, and perpetually challenging. Thank you for your attention throughout the 3 hours. We've covered substantial ground from foundational and fundamental definitions to emerging trends, from theoretical principles to practical applications. Remember that this is just the beginning. Translation is a rich, complex field that rewards lifelong study and practice. The concepts we've covered provide foundation, but your development continues throughout practice, reflection, and the continued learning. I encourage you to engage deeply with translation exercises, reflect critically on your choices, and embrace the challenges as opportunities for growth. Translation is one of the humanity's essential activities. It enables communication, understanding, and connection across the boundaries that separate us. As you develop your translation skills, you are joining a translation on tradition thousands of years old while participating in shaping how cultures understand each other in our interconnected world. This is meaningful, important work. Approach it with the seriousness it deserves, but also with joy in the creative problem solving it offers. Thank you, and I wish you success in your translation journey.